Welcome back to another episode of the Eek of the Week. I'm your host, Albert Einstein, and you can call me Allie with an OWL. Thank you so much for joining us again for another episode. We are getting into our cult series here. The first two that I have done, I haven't heard of these, so I'm excited. I always love learning about new true crime stories that we may never have heard of before, but they're still out there. Again, I want to preface this one was that I'm not 100% certain that this one is not fictional. So there's that. I don't know if these are, anyway, the bot's doing a great job with creating these, whether they're fictional or not. I am going to set that disclaimer there is that I don't know if these are 100% true. Or based in any kind of reality or just created by our lovely AI bot that has been doing a great job so far. Before we get into the next one, I need to say that listener discretion is strongly advised because we're dealing with sensitive material that may be disturbing or triggering to some people. If that's not up your alley, maybe find some of the other PG rated stories down below. When we first began, and I was kind of testing the waters, I did end up moving away and doing more R-rated stories, and they do get kind of gory and gruesome. So if that's not your thing, there are some more PG-rated ones down below. And if you're enjoying all these stories, please consider following, sharing us around with your friends. Let them know how much fun we're having over here, because I need to push this away. I'm having a lot of fun over here, clearly. Let's get into the next one. This is called The Golden Children Inside the Eden's Gate Commune. We'll work on pronunciation as we go. I've been here almost 40 years on this earth and still can't pronounce certain things correctly. Anyways, let's get into it. If you've ever driven through Northern California, way past the redwoods where the state gets jagged and quiet, you may have missed it. You wouldn't have known. You wouldn't have seen a sign. But somewhere off a dirt road near Shasta County, there once sat a place called Eden's Gate, a commune that promised heaven on earth and left only silence in its wake. It wasn't famous. There were no fiery standoffs, no mass suicides caught on the news, but what happened there may be worse. Because the scariest cults aren't the ones that go out with a bang. They're the ones that vanish without a trace. This is the story of the Golden Children. Eden's Gate began in 1984 when a woman named Celeste Reed purchased 40 acres of wooded land near Lassen National Forest. She was a former psychologist from Berkeley, known for her unconventional methods and crystal-clear charisma. Her private practice had quietly shut down after a malpractice suit involving an adult patient who'd taken their own life. Celeste disappeared for nearly a year. When she reemerged, she called herself Mother Celeste. She said she'd been reborn, that she'd heard the frequencies of divinity, that the world was ending, but a few chosen souls could survive and ascend. She called her vision the Eden Project, and to build it, she needed children. Celeste's early followers were mostly young couples, disillusioned with society, drifting through the New Age movement. She attracted them with gentle messaging, peace, healing, natural living. She promised a life free from the corruption of money, politics, and technology. But there was one rule: no outsiders, and no blood not blessed. That's where the children came in. Couples who joined the commune were required to conceive anew, to bring forth what she called golden children, souls untainted by the modern world. They were never registered with the state. No birth certificates, no hospitals, no vaccinations, no public schools. Celeste believed every child was a vessel of divine potential, but only if they remained pure, and purity came at a cost. The children of Eden's Gate were raised in isolation. They weren't allowed to speak until the age of 3. They weren't given names, just colors. little blue, golden 2, red light, violet. Their days were tightly regimented. Morning sun-gazing rituals, silence meditations, herb-based fasting. At night they gathered in the temple room, a wide circular hall made of pine and quartz, where Celeste would lead what she called synchronizations. These were quiet, hypnotic ceremonies. No one spoke of what happened in them, but some of the children remembered. Years later, one of them told a state psychiatrist, "She made us leave our bodies, but not all of us came back." The first real investigation into Eden's Gate didn't happen until 1999. That's when Marjorie Tate, a former member, broke away nearly 14 years in the commune. She had been one of the first chosen mothers, Celeste's term for the hand-picked women allowed to breed. Marjorie escaped with a 10-year-old boy named Sunray, her only child. But she didn't go to the police. She didn't go to the press. She went to a hospital in Reading, barefoot, bleeding, half-starved, muttering that the harvest was coming. Doctors found Sunray was malnourished. His speech was stunted. He flinched at sunlight, and when he saw a medical cross on a nurse's necklace, he screamed. They called the authorities, but by the time they reached the property, Eden's Gate was gone. The entire compound had been burned to the ground, structures razed, gardens incinerated, statues smashed to powder. There were no bodies, no signs of violence, just ashes, arranged in strange spiraling patterns. The land reeked of burnt sage and sulfur. Officials initially believed it was an act of arson, possibly self-inflicted, but no trace of the remaining members were ever found. No cars, no trails, nothing. Over 40 people, including at least 12 children, disappeared that night. No human remains were ever recovered. Just a single object left behind in the center of the temple room, a porcelain mask, half gold, half white, smiling. The words, "We ascended," carved in the floor beneath it. So, where did they go? There are theories. Some believe they crossed into Oregon and assimilated into another group. Others claim Celeste was spotted in Colorado in 2006, preaching under a new name, the Oracle of Echo Springs. One theory, told in hushed tones among cult recovery circles, says that Celeste never stopped, that she's still recruiting, still raising children, still preparing for the final phase of her so-called Eden Project, a second-generation cult seeded across the country. The Golden Children, now grown. Some say they work in hospitals, in schools, quiet, clean-cut, smiling, waiting for the signal. It's been more than 2 decades since Eden's Gate vanished. The land was sold, then sold again. Developers have tried to build on it multiple times. Every project failed. Fires, sinkholes, legal issues. One crew swears they unearthed rows of smooth stones arranged like vertebrae. But before they could investigate, the site flooded, without warning. Locals won't go near it. They say sometimes at night you can hear children singing, not joyfully, slowly, in a language no one can identify. And if you leave offerings, quartz, honey, milk, the sounds stop. No one really knows what happened to the Golden Children, but some nights, when the air goes still and the moon turns orange behind the trees, it doesn't feel like they're gone. It feels like they're waiting. Thank you so much for listening in, and we'll catch you in the next one.